Staying in a hotel and selling my house because junkies keep targeting my home 4 years ago, I accepted a job and bought what my husband and I thought would be our forever home. A large, not huge, well-kept home in a historical part of an older town. Other homes around us were also in good condition with attentive owners, although the town as a whole is a bit economically depressed since a major employer left over a decade ago. Our house is nice, but it's not really different from the others on the block, and it's probably the smallest and least fancy on the block. We put up a 6-foot privacy fence because we were worried about our dog bothering pedestrians or kids who might stick their hands through a different type of fence in hindsight. I wonder if this type of fence was a huge mistake. Anyway, the pandemic hit and my work went fully remote. Also, my employer informed me that I was slated to be let go at the end of the year due to financial problems during the pandemic. Depressed that I was being let go so soon after buying a home, my skin was crawling to get out of town. My husband and I left to work remotely at a family home elsewhere. Before the year ended, though, my employer reconsidered their financial position and asked me to stay. While we were out of town, our home was thoroughly burglarized. The police did a good job investigating and caught one of the burglars using fingerprints. We came to find out that this person lived in an apartment building a few doors down with a clear view of our home. Although other people were involved in the burglary, the person who was caught refused to identify the rest of them. This person also had a long record of arrests for meth possession, which makes sense when you consider that they were so low as to steal half-used toiletries from our shower. They took everything. It's been deeply depressing and debilitating. And the physical stuff they took is only a small part of it. The loss of security in your own home is a terrible feeling that I couldn't have fully understood if I hadn't experienced it. Even though we've installed a security system, I never feel fully safe at home anymore. I started sleeping with the lights on and worrying about whether I gave off enough clear signs that we were there, so people wouldn't try again while we were there. But they have tried again repeatedly. My husband is away a lot for work, so I'm often in the home alone. It's gotten to the point where I can't stand to be there alone. Once they tried to break in while I was asleep at night alone, setting off our alarm just before sunup. Another time we came home and could tell they had tried again, pulling garbage cans to climb over our padlocked security fence and into a hidden part of our yard near the side of the house where they got in the first time. Recently, they were so brazen as to come 3 times in broad daylight, and one of them kept loudly banging on my door and repeatedly ringing my doorbell, trying to convince me that one of them was a door-to-door salesman, while their junkie friends drove back and forth in what I can only presume was a getaway car. The guy was clearly high and eerily sang aggressively at my doorbell camera when in his perception I ignored his attempts to get me to open the door. He gave 0 shits about being on camera. The police actually showed up while he was still on the scene and confronted him but couldn't arrest him since at that point he was only attempting to convince me to open the door. We've come to the conclusion that we have no option but to move. What's crazy is that none of our neighbors is having these problems. It's like these junkies got in once and now are fixated on our home. It's terrifying how brazen they are and how little they seem to care about potentially being caught. I am terrified thinking what might happen if they actually got in while I was there alone. They seem totally irrational. Nothing seems to deter them. Not a serious security system with cameras, not being confronted by police, not one of them being arrested, not the presence of dogs. Nothing has worked. I can't believe I'm being hounded out of our lovely home. My husband is away and I'm staying at a hotel tonight, which is another upsetting expense, because it's gotten too upsetting to be alone in the home. It's also a mostly rural area with few homes for sale, so we are looking at homes we don't like as much just to get away from these people who for some reason will not stop harassing us. I feel like it's causing me to become depressed, in the technical sense. After the last time the police came, I left town and went to my parents' house and stayed in bed for 2 days. For some reason, I felt like all I could do was sleep. I never would have imagined something this would happen to me in that lovely house on that nice-looking street. And again, it's not happening to our neighbors. Why don't they just leave us alone?